Hey guys! Tonight we wander onto the Silk Road with dust on our sandals and the sun lounging lazily over the horizon like it has nowhere urgent to be. You are already squinting into the amber light, following a slow caravan of camels whose long eyelashes look better groomed than yours. The air smells faintly of leathered cardamom and warm sand. Somewhere ahead, beyond the wavering heat, stands a structure of thick stone walls and a wide wooden gate, the promise of shade, water, and perhaps the greatest treasure of all, a nap. You probably wouldn't survive this journey, by the way, not because you lack courage, but because you enjoy things like climate control and snacks that don't require weeks of camel supervision. The Silk Road, stretching thousands of miles from East Asia to the Mediterranean, is less a single road and more a sprawling network of trade routes linking empires, languages, and an impressive variety of blisters. Merchants carry silk from China, spices from India, glassware from the Roman world. You carry mild curiosity and a dramatic need to sit down. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here, and tell me in the comments where you are listening from and what your local time is. Somewhere out there, someone else might be drifting off at the same quiet hour. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let us ease into tonight's journey together. The caravan creaks forward, bells tied around camel necks clink softly, a desert lullaby in irregular rhythm. You pass traders wrapped in layered robes, their faces calm with the kind of patience you only develop after crossing a continent at 3 miles per hour. The Silk Road has been active for centuries, especially flourishing during the Han Dynasty and later under the Mongol Empire, when trade routes were protected and travel became comparatively safer. That safety, relative though it is, allows something remarkable to flourish along the route. Caravanserais. The word itself comes from Persian roots, caravan for caravan and saray for palace or enclosed building, a palace for your tired feet. As you approach one, its silhouette rises square and sturdy against the desert, walls thick enough to keep out both thieves and midday heat. The heavy wooden gate stands open, welcoming, as if the building itself understands exactly how much you want to lie down. You step inside and the temperature drops almost instantly. The central courtyard opens wide, surrounded by arched alcoves and small rooms. Camels kneel with theatrical groans, relieved of their loads, their cargo bales of silk, sacks of pepper, indigo dye, porcelain bowls get stacked neatly along the walls. There is a well at the center, its rope worn smooth by countless hands. Water glimmers at the bottom like a quiet secret. This design is no accident. Caravanserais are typically spaced about a day's journey apart, roughly 20 mi aisles, so that travelers can move from one safe haven to the next. It is an elegant system of endurance. Walk, arrive, drink, rest, repeat. Historians widely agree that these roadside inns were essential to sustaining long-distance trade, offering protection from bandits and harsh weather. Without them, the Silk Road might have remained a romantic idea rather than a practical reality. You find a shaded corner beneath an arch. The stone is cool against your back. A breeze slips through the open courtyard, stirring the scent of cumin and wool. Someone nearby is already dozing, turban tipped over their eyes. Afternoon naps here are not indulgent. They are strategic. The desert sun at midday can be relentless, and seasoned travelers know to pause when the light grows too bright in the air to heavy. Productivity, in this world, bows respectfully to survival. A lesser-known detail drifts into your awareness as you watch the courtyard settle. Caravanserais often included small mosques or prayer rooms, as Islam spread across Central Asia and the Middle East. These spaces became part of the architectural rhythm. Even travelers of different faiths would pause in the quiet, appreciating the Stillness, trade, and devotion, side by side, commerce outside, contemplation within. You stretch out on a woven mat offered by a host whose hospitality is both practical and proud. Hosting travelers brings income and reputation. Some caravanserais are funded by wealthy patrons or rulers as charitable endowments. Known as waqf, providing shelter to strangers is not just good business. It is considered virtuous. You imagine the quiet satisfaction of knowing your building has sheltered thousands of stories. The courtyard hums gently. A trader from Samarkand argues amiably about the price of saffron. A traveler from the Byzantine world gestures animatedly about sea voyages. Languages overlap like threads in a tapestry. You don't understand most of it, but the tone is reassuringly human. Negotiation, laughter, mild exaggeration, and then, because the day is long and the road unforgiving, you let your eyes close. The nap is not luxurious by modern standards. There is no memory foam, no blackout curtains. Instead, you have thick stone walls blocking the glare, the rhythmic chewing of camels, and the distant splash of water from the well. It is enough, more than enough. Your breathing slows, eyes sinking with the soft desert wind. Historians still wonder about the full social life of these spaces. Were they purely transactional stops, or did they serve as subtle crossroads of culture where ideas traveled as freely as silk? Did a merchant from China share a recipe with a baker from Persia? Did a story whispered here echo years later in a distant court? The records focus on goods and taxes, but the human exchanges, those are harder to measure. A fly buzzes lazily past your ear. You wave it away with minimal enthusiasm. Even the insects seem relaxed here, as though they, too, appreciate a well-designed rest stop. You wake sometime later to softer light. The sun has shifted, sliding down the sky with less intensity. Shadows stretch longer across the courtyard tiles. You feel oddly restored, as if the building itself has absorbed your fatigue and returned something steadier in its place. Outside these walls, the Silk Road continues endlessly, a web connecting empires. But inside, in this square of shade and stone, time feels briefly suspended. You realize that the genius of the caravanserai is not just protection, it is permission. Permission to pause, permission to nap, permission to admit that even the grand sweep of global trade depends on someone lying down for an hour and letting the world spin without them. You sit up slowly, brushing sand from your sleeve. The camels groan again. Less dramatically this time, the gates remain open, framing the bright desert beyond. Soon, you will rise and step back into the sunlight, but for now, you linger in the afterglow of rest, aware that this humble roadside inn has quietly perfected the art of the afternoon nap. You rise from your woven mat with that soft, slightly disoriented feeling that follows a perfect afternoon nap, the kind where you forget, briefly, which century you belong to. The courtyard glows in late daylight, honey-colored and forgiving. A camel blinks at you as if to say, "Took you long enough." You choose not to argue. The rhythm inside the caravanserai has shifted. The frantic unloading is finished. Now everything hums at a calmer frequency. Merchants sit in loose circles, cross-legged on rugs patterned with deep reds and indigos. A kettle hisses gently over a small charcoal brazier. The smell of roasting chickpeas mingles with cardamom and dust. You realize, with quiet appreciation, that this place is not just architecture, it is choreography. Caravanserais were often built in a rectangular shape with a single monumental entrance. Thick walls, and corner towers, some of the grander examples, especially under the Seljuk Turks in Anatolia, were so ornate they looked more like fortresses with artistic ambitions. Stone carvings framed their portals, geometric designs spiraling. In patient symmetry, it is a widely accepted fact that during the Shusite century, the Seljuks invested heavily in these roadside inns to encourage trade across their territory. Safety meant prosperity, prosperity meant more caravans meant more naps for people like you. You wander toward the well again, a rope creaks as someone draws up water in a leather bucket, the splash echoes off the stone walls. A soothing percussion, water here is wealth. And the well sits in the center like a quiet monarch. Lesser known detail, some caravanserais included small bath areas or fountains, allowing travelers to wash off the desert as persistent affection. Not luxurious spas, exactly, but enough to feel human again. Nearby, a man carefully unpacks a small pouch and begins grinding coffee beans with a brass mortar. Ottoman coffee culture will later become famous in cities like Istanbul, but even here along the trade routes, coffee is gaining ground as a social ritual. The beans traveled from Ethiopia through Yemen and into the broader Islamic world. By the 7th century, coffee houses will become hubs of conversation and debate. For now, you are simply grateful for the dark, fragrant brew. You accept a small cup. It is strong enough to reorganize your thoughts. You try not to look startled. The merchant grins knowingly. Coffee in this era is not about subtle flavor notes. It is about alertness and perhaps mild philosophical reflection. Conversations ripple across the courtyard. You catch fragments. Rumors of safe passage under Mongol rule, speculation about new taxes in distant cities, enthusiastic descriptions of silk so fine it can pass through a ring under the Pax Mongolica. In the Shusite and Shusut centuries, vast stretches of the Silk Road become relatively secure, allowing merchants, diplomats, and even explorers like Marco Polo to travel more freely. It is one of those rare historical moments when an empire's control actually smooths the road rather than complicating it. You sit beside a trader from Bukhara who is repairing a strap on his saddle. He works methodically, needle flashing in the light. He tells you, with calm pride, that his family has been traveling these routes for generations. The caravanserai, he explains, is like an extended living room for nomads of commerce. You nod as if this makes perfect sense, which it does. Camels shift and settle in the open central space, their long legs fold beneath them with practiced grace. Someone jokes that camels remember every slight and will hold a grudge for years. You glance at the one who blinked at you earlier and decide to stay polite. As evening approaches, a call to prayer floats softly through the air. It is not thunderous, just steady and melodic. A few travelers move toward a small prayer niche set into one wall. Others remain seated, respectfully quiet. The caravanserai holds all of it without tension. Trade and faith, noise and silence, strangers and friends. Historians still wonder how much cultural blending truly happened in these spaces. Did they spark lasting collaborations, or were they mostly brief intersections before everyone continued on separate paths? We know goods moved across continents. Silk reached Rome, spices flavored distant kitchens, but how many lullabies, superstitions, or recipes slipped quietly across borders in these courtyards? A cook ladles stew into shallow bowls, lentils, perhaps, simmered with onions and a whisper of spice. You accept a bowl and sit near the wall, back resting against stone that has absorbed centuries of conversations. The meal is simple but deeply satisfying. Hunger, after all, is the best seasoning. You notice something else. The architecture itself encourages rest. The rooms lining the courtyard are small and inward-facing, blocking the outside world. Windows, if they exist, are narrow and high. The thick masonry keeps interiors cool during the day and warm at night. It's passive climate control before the term exists. The builders understood the desert as temperament and responded with patient engineering. A lesser-known quirk, some caravanserais even provided veterinary care for animals. Camels were valuable assets, and a sick one could derail an entire journey. Records mention designated areas for tending to injured animals. You imagine a medieval camel doctor, sleeves rolled up, offering reassuring murmurs to a disgruntled patient. You would absolutely subscribe to that series. The sky deepens into twilight. A few oil lamps flicker to life along the walls, their light soft and golden. Shadows lengthen, stretching across the courtyard like slow-moving ink. The air cools noticeably. You pull your robe a little tighter around your shoulders. Someone begins telling a story, nothing dramatic. Just a tale about a merchant who tried to cheat a customer and ended up buying his own goods at double the price. Laughter bubbles up, easy and warm. Humor travels well, it seems. You realize that the afternoon nap was only part of the genius here. The caravanserai doesn't just offer sleep. It creates a rhythm: travel, pause, eat, pray, talk, rest. The structure shapes behavior gently, like a riverbank guiding water. No one rushes, there is nowhere urgent to be tonight. You tilt your head back and look up. The courtyard frames a square of darkening sky. A single star appears, tentative but persistent. You feel suspended between movement and stillness, between continents and centuries. Somewhere beyond these walls, silk threads are being spun, spices harvested, coins minted. Empires rise and fall in distant capitals, but here, in this enclosed square of stone and starlight, the grand machinery of history reduces to something tenderly human. A shared meal, a strong cup of coffee, a repaired saddle, a well-earned rest. You exhale slowly. The camel who judged you earlier has settled down completely, eyes half closed. Even he seems to approve of the evening's pace, and as the lamps flicker and the murmurs soften, you feel the caravanserai drawing you deeper into its quiet rituals, preparing you, perhaps, for the stories that will unfold under the full sweep of night. The night settles over the caravanserai like a carefully folded blanket. The last streaks of orange fade from the courtyard walls, and the sky above deepens into a wide, ink-blue canvas stitched with stars. You lean back against the cool stone, feeling the day's warmth slowly release itself into the desert air. The lamps flicker lower. Now, their flames steady and unhurried. Someone tosses a small bundle of dried herbs onto the brazier, and the smoke rises in a thin, fragrant ribbon. It smells faintly sweet, almost like dried apples and cedar. The camels are quiet at last, their silhouettes forming soft, lumpy constellations of their own. If you squint, you could almost mistake them for oddly shaped hills. A merchant begins to speak again, this time not about prices or tariffs, but about a city far to the east where paper money circulates instead of heavy coins. This is no fantasy. Under the Yuan dynasty in China, paper currency becomes widely used, astonishing visitors from regions where wealth still jingles in metal form. You try to imagine handing over a slip of paper for silk and spices. It feels suspiciously modern, like something you would definitely lose in your pocket. The Silk Road has always been more than fabric. Along these routes traveled technologies like papermaking, gunpowder, and even the magnetic compass. Widely accepted history tells us that these exchanges reshaped entire civilizations. You sit with that thought for a moment. Somewhere out, perhaps in a courtyard like this centuries ago, someone casually mentioned a new invention over stew and flatbread, and the world quietly shifted. A lesser-known detail drifts into the conversation. carrier pigeons were sometimes used along certain trade networks to send messages ahead, not everywhere, and not always reliably, but enough that the idea of long-distance communication didn't feel entirely impossible. You picture a pigeon launching dramatically into the desert night, carrying news of your excellent nap. The storytelling grows softer as the hour deepens. A traveler from Persia recounts a legend about a hidden oasis guarded by spirits who only reveal it to those who treat strangers kindly. You notice how the others listen, not skeptically, not gullibly, just attentively. Myths and maps coexist easily here. Facts guide the route. Stories make it bearable. Historians still wonder how much trust truly bound these networks together. Contracts existed. Certainly, partnerships were recorded. But how often did reputation and word of mouth carry more weight than ink? When you travel thousands of miles through harsh landscapes, trust becomes as valuable as gold. Did caravanserais quietly function as verification hubs, where merchants assessed each other's reliability between sips of coffee? It is difficult to measure, but you sense that character mattered here in ways spreadsheets cannot capture. A breeze sweeps through the courtyard, cooler now, brushing your face with the faintest hint of sand. You pull your robe closer and stretch your legs out before you. The stone floor beneath you feels firm but grounding, not uncomfortable, just honest. The conversation drifts to silk itself. Real silk, you learn, begins with the patient labor of silkworms feeding on mulberry leaves. For centuries, China guarded the secret of sericulture carefully. There is a famous tale, half history, half intrigue, about silkworm eggs smuggled westward, hidden inside a hollowed-out bamboo cane by monks. Whether every detail is accurate, historians debate. But silk production does eventually spread beyond China. Secrets, like stories, rarely stay contained forever. You look up at the stars again. Without city lights, the sky feels immense and intimate all at once. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a pale river. Travelers here navigate not only by landmarks and caravan leaders, but also by these steady points of light. The North Star holds its position faithfully, the quiet guide across shifting terrain. A young trader beside you admits he sometimes prefers the caravanserai to his own home on the road. He says, "Life is simplified: eat, travel, trade, rest, no endless obligations." You nod, understanding the appeal. There is something soothing about a life measured in stages between safe courtyards. One of the camels emits a low, rumbling sigh. You can tell if it is contentment or mild existential reflection. You decide it as contentment. It suits the mood better. The lamps are nearly out now. A final story lingers in the air, a humorous account of a merchant who once tried to transport a crate of live chickens across the desert, only to discover that chickens, unlike camels, are not fans of long-distance trade. The moral seems unclear, but the laughter is gentle. You feel your eyelids growing heavy again. The UV done nothing particularly exhausting. That is the magic of this place. The caravanserai doesn't demand productivity, it offers containment within its walls. The vastness of the Silk Road becomes manageable, segmented into days and nights, naps and meals. Tomorrow, you will pass through the great wooden gate and step back onto the road. The bells will jingle, the sand will shift underfoot, and the horizon will stretch endlessly ahead. You will carry with you not only the memory of cool stone and strong coffee, but also the sense that rest is not a luxury, it is infrastructure. You take one last slow breath of the night air. The stars seem brighter now, or perhaps your eyes have adjusted. Around you, the courtyard settles into true silence. Even the camels are still. You close your eyes and let the quiet hold you, and as you drift, imagine the Silk Road continuing softly through centuries. Threads of silk, whispers of stories, Footsteps between caravanserais spaced a day apart, each one a square of shelter in a wide and wandering world. Now, as the desert night deepens, allow your own breathing to slow. Picture the thick stone walls around you. Steady and protective, feel the warmth of the day fading gently from the ground beneath you. The sky above is vast but calm, each star fixed and patient. You do not need to travel any farther tonight. The road can wait beyond the gates, the camels are resting, the merchants are dreaming of distant markets and familiar kitchens. The well stands quiet at the center of the courtyard, holding cool water in the dark. Let your thoughts become like those trade goods packed neatly, set aside until morning. There is no bargaining to do, no miles to cross, only this enclosed square of stillness, this soft hush of desert air. Imagine the breeze moving lightly across your face, carrying away the last fragments of the day. Your shoulders loosen, your jaw unclenches, the stars remain steady overhead, ancient and reassuring. You are safe within these walls, you are allowed to pause, and just as travelers along the Silk Road trusted the next caravanserai would appear after a long day's journey, you can trust that rest will meet you now. Gently and without hurry, the night grows quieter still.